Alright. We're taking all the best old school wisdom and blending it with the top new school methods to bring you the optimal coaching strategies. This is the 80-20 Baseball Podcast with Coach Bo.
Hello, coaches, parents, players. Coach Bo here. Our weekly get-together, episode 146, coming out every Tuesday with a new episode. This podcast hit a milestone 4,000 minute mark. We hit and went past the 4,000 minute mark. Pure baseball coaching tips, strategies, discussion, insight. We are pushing on 70 hours of commercial-free baseball, talking, coaching, and getting better as coaches, as parents, as players. Almost 70 hours, 4,000 plus minutes. If you think about it, the average nonfiction book these days, about an average of about 8 hours of audio book. That's the nonfiction books. And if you took that average, we've recorded over 8 full audio books on this podcast. And as all of you know, there's no fluff. We double edit this to make sure there's no gaps, there's no spaces. We want to get you as much good information to go out there and be successful, to go out there confident, knowing what to do, having a plan, knowing that plan is proven, that it will work, that you'll be better coaches, and you'll become great coaches if you continue to build upon it and get out there and give it some time. And we do that here in a quick fashion because time, I know you all agree with this, our time is so finite, and trying to get good information into our already busy lives, we got to make it efficient, but we also have to make it high quality, and that's where the 80-20 rule and principle guides us and gets us to. This episode will be a little bit shorter because I was in Southern California hanging out with all my grade school buddies this past weekend. We get together at least one time a year, all of us. Guys, it's a full-on, typically 11 a.m. to about 12 a.m. So do the math, 13 hours of grade school buddies getting after it. We're all in our 40s now, and it's just a great time. We do about a 3 to 4 hour game of wiffle ball, cornhole, fantasy football, draft. We get the taquero out there, so always a nice spread. Watch football on the big screen, college football. It's just an absolute blast to hang out with grade school buddies, and not just grade school buddies. And I'm sharing this partly because I wanted to say why this episode, which I record and edit and do most of my work along with my great editor Sam, we do it on the weekends. These grade school buddies that I speak of, we're not just grade school buddies. We all played Little League baseball together from the time we were 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, all the way up through. Many of them played high school ball with me. Some went to other schools, some of the private Catholic schools in Orange County. I fly in, I actually stay at my best friend's house, and I've known him since the 2nd grade. So it's always great to go back. By and large, this is a baseball group going back Little League days. Awesome to get together. But I'm back in the office recording this, had a great weekend, and I want to get into something here that I think is very important to discuss, something that will help you a lot. It will help every part of your coaching game. Good drills, good training drills. Good drills are to mimic what happens in the game. Essentially, you are trying to train things that happen in the game. Hitting, pitching, ground balls, fly balls, base running, etc., etc. I see good drills from time to time. At least almost every other practice I see a good drill. I know some of you are like, every other practice? I don't see good drills. The majority of drills I see are not good. But nevertheless, great drills to elite drills are very few and far between. And this is where the biggest competitive advantage is. And if you listen to this, you're going to get it. The good drills, you'll see them. You'll see good drills. You go out there, there's good drills. But what makes a great drill, what makes an elite drill? And this is where it's so rare to see out there. If you listen right now, this is going to give you a huge advantage and get your players a lot better, a lot faster. So good drills, somewhat common. Great to elite drills, not very common. And what really separates a good or average drill from elite, there's a couple parts, but one of the main parts, one of the main things you can do as a coach to separate is scale. Scaling it, higher amount of quality reps for all the players across the board. We've talked about this over the last 2 weeks, not this particular component. I'm going to break it down why scaling is so important. We're going to get this paradigm of scaling. We're going to build upon this as kind of a part 3 of our 3-part series that we've gone. I wasn't going to do an episode on this, but after listening to last week's episode again, I listened to these episodes actually after I published them. I don't always like listening to myself. Most of us, we don't like listening to our self-talk, but I think that the way we edit these, Sam, my editor, and myself, how we edit them, it does make for a nice listen to go back through. It's efficient. And I always want to be better. I always want to bring a better podcast to all you, better episodes. Part of that has to do with listening. Not only do I listen to it after it's completed, I actually listen to it again because I edit it after Sam edits it. So I re-edit, so I hear it 2 times. And what it got me thinking was, before moving to our next topic and discussion next week, I want to triple down on the scaling of drills, of our training environment. This is the biggest competitive advantage sitting out there, in my opinion. How many authentic quality repetitions can you provide your players for that particular skill or that particular action or that particular movement or combination of movements, whether it's the swing, the pitching delivery, ground balls, base running, catching fly balls, the catching position, receiving, blocking, throwing, working on double plays, working on throw and catch, etc., etc. How many quality reps can you stuff into a 2-hour practice if more than 50% of your players are standing around at any given time? Your drill or drills are not dialed in yet. Your practice is not to where it could be. It is very hard to get 100% of players doing something of quality reps all the time. It is. The thing about baseball is that you're not going to burn your players out in the cardio facet. Cardiovascular endurance, your kids actually should be in the best shape of any team in the league without actually even doing any cardio training or conditioning or running or jogging or any of that. Your players, if you do this and follow this, will be in the best shape, the best physical shape in terms of cardio endurance of any team in the league, because your practices are going to be much faster and there will be less standing around. The nice thing about baseball, as I was alluding to a second ago, is you're not going to burn out your players cardio-wise. They will get tired, they will be breathing hard, they will be sweating, especially in these hotter summer months and things like that. The goal should be to have at least 50% of your players going through some quality repetition at any given time. 50%. Half your team should be going through a quality repetition at any given time. Now, you can get more, you can get a higher percentage of player involvement. For example, a couple weeks ago and even last week, we hit on it again, the pitching accuracy drill. So you can get more, you can increase it past 50%. It gets challenging to get past 50%, but at 50% works well because you have players teaming together on a catch and throw. 50% at all times is ideal. This is tough. I know it sounds like it's an easy thing to do, but it's not that easy, and it takes some planning and it takes improving. You're not going to be perfect at this. This takes a lot of time. And what really helped me get here was my years and years and years of coaching and teaching PE. Physical education classes where I'm running out there upwards of 60 students that most of them don't even want to be there. They're not athletes. They're not out there playing their favorite sport. It's PE. They're not really excited to be out there. They don't even want to, most of you know what I'm talking about. They don't even want to dress out in the PE uniform. They don't want to be out there. They're not eager to be to PE for the most part. These are the kids in high school that typically are in PE because they're not playing sports. So they don't really want to be out there doing more sports or physical activity. But having 60 at a time made me really good at trying to get more kids involved, because if I let them stand around or sit around, especially in the areas I taught for so many years, that was problems. If you let them sit around, if you gave them some time to hang out and just chill, it was going to be a problem. I had to keep them occupied and busy. Baseball, a little different than that, but the idea is there's a way. I've seen it, I've done it. There's a way to get 50% of your players, your athletes going at any given time. It does take some practice, and you're not going to be perfect at first, but that should be your goal. When you go out there early to your practice, before your practice starts, if you look at the field or another field where another team is practicing, you'll very rarely see more than 25% of the players overall. And I told you about the Division I practice. I went and sat in the first row, and they did a bunting drill with 9 players, 9 hitters in line, and one guy getting a rep at a time. One guy getting a rep at a time. 8 guys standing around. That's not very good. That's about 11%. 11%. That's a high level, top 25 Division I program. 11% of their players in that drill were active. Why couldn't they have split it up and put hitters at every single base, and every single base could have been a home plate? Why couldn't first, second, and third each act as a home plate? Why couldn't one of the teammates be throwing and one of the teammates behind them catching? So if you each have a bucket, you don't even need a catcher. You could even scale this up and put throwdown bases, 6 throwdown bases, 6 pitchers, or let's say there was 9 in this particular drill. You could do 5 and 4 and have a coach be the 5th pitcher, and you could have 50% bunting at the same time. Takes a little prep work, not as much as you think. It just takes some awareness and forethought. It's really about forethought. And one thing I think you should keep in mind is as you go through these drills, or as you go through a drill, you should be looking to scale it. You should be looking to scale it. You should be looking for ways to get more quality reps safely. How do you do that? Well, one, you have to have a drill that runs a little more on autopilot than if you have to run the whole drill. So here's the big message that I want to share with you today about scaling. The first tip, the main tip I can share with you about scaling up your practice and scaling up your quality training drills is by scaling back. Now, some of you are sitting there going, what the heck, Coach Bo? How am I going to scale up if I'm scaling back? Having fewer variations or having fewer drills specifically for a particular skill or action is a great first step. Just have one and at the most two really awesome drills for all these actions: hitting, pitching, ground balls, PFPs, outfield fly balls, cutoffs, relays. Have one really awesome drill for each one of those main key actions. You might have a second base running drill because base running does have some variations and different skills that are within base running. It's not just running, right? There's different things, reading ball and dirt and stealing bases. Here's the thing. By scaling back, you can scale up. Players only get better by getting them quality reps, high level quality reps, a high volume of quality reps. That's how players get better. A real life analogy back from the, I want to say late 60s, definitely 70s, and obviously today now, as you're going to hear. The same thing with airlines. Airlines only make money when the planes are in the air, when the passengers are on the plane, right? Southwest, way back in the day, Southwest really understood this. More specifically, Herb Kelleher, the famous Southwest founder, he understood that he needed to get those planes in the air more frequently. And as most of you know, Southwest had, and they may still have, but they definitely did have the quickest turnaround time. They were ahead of the curve when it came to getting planes turned around, fueled, back up. Now, how did they do this? And what's one of the main reasons? This is the interesting part of this. Most of you know Southwest Airlines success. Most of you know how they conquered over and took over routes and became really big, even though they were a nobody, just, I think, running the triangle of Dallas and Houston and Austin. It was like San Antonio. There was like three cities and some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. There was like three cities in Texas that they ran their routes, and that was it way back, I think maybe, was it late 60s or 70s? Now everybody knows Southwest is everywhere. One of the things that helped make them so great at getting those flights turned around, which then allowed them to charge less of a price per ticket, which of course gets more passengers because they're cheaper, of course, and what allowed them to also offer more flights because they could get their planes turned around and back in the air quickly, was that they used the 737 exclusively. The 737 being used as the only jet in their fleet was a game changer. It was a huge advantage because their mechanics, their pilots, their baggage crew, their flight attendants, everybody from the front to the back to the top to the bottom of the organization knew the ins and the outs of the 737. Getting parts for a 737, they didn't have to get parts for different planes. They had parts for 737s. You can see how advantageous this would be for an airline. They had one model, a 737. That's it. And they got awesome at making sure they knew how to keep that 737 up in the air as often as possible. And the familiarity and the single focus on the 737, and that was one of the big things that allowed them to turn it around. There were other things, but that was one of the things that allowed them, one of the big things that allowed them to get big and dominate. Players only get better when they're going through quality repetitions, when they're working through quality reps. And the same thing with an airline. They're only making money when the plane's in the air. When players are familiar with a drill, you can get right into it really quickly. No explanations after about the second or third time of using it. So essentially, the last 80% of the season, you don't have to explain how the drill works. You might have to remind one player about something. You're always keeping an eye on hustle and attitude. But as far as how the drill works and all the nuances and intricacies of that drill, you don't have to remind, refresh, or repeat all of that. You can say, 4-station ground ball drill. Boom. Players know exactly where to go. They know what equipment they need. They know where the buckets need to be, where the baseballs need to be, where the bats need to be. They know where to go. Boom. You get right into it. They know how the drill works. They know the safety precautions. That doesn't mean you don't keep reminding them of some of these things. But what I'm saying is it's much faster. It's autopilot. It moves and you get right into quality reps much faster. Not only that, you can also, and you will also be able to build upon each week. Each time you do the drill, you'll be able to get it better and better. You'll add little pieces to it, add little parts, little nuances that make it even more game authentic. I highly recommend, coaches, don't chase a million drills. If you find a good drill that's better than the one you have now, I highly recommend you swap it. The only time I wouldn't recommend this is once the season started, or at least after that first 20% of the season has passed. Have one drill for every particular action, not every particular position or part of the game, like base running, outfield, infield, hitting, pitching, etc. Have one really top-notch drill for each of those actions. This is so important for all of baseball at all levels, in my opinion, but definitely for youth baseball. Absolutely for youth baseball. Scale up by scaling back. Southwest Airlines scaled up. They scaled up because they stuck with one model of airplane, 737, the Boeing 737. That's it. Of course, you can't roll out there with just one drill. You need multiple drills because there's different parts of baseball. Of course, it's not an exact comparison, but if you have two great base stealing drills, go with the best one. If you can blend them together and infuse them together, better, even better. Just like Southwest did by that move, using just 737s, the benefit to the entire company, the mechanics, the flight attendants, the pilots, the parts people, the cleaning crews, luggage crews, they all benefited because they got super well versed in the 737 and became experts at that particular aircraft and the processes behind it, and it all sped up almost everything that they did. Not only that, it was safer, more reliable. There were far fewer errors made because they didn't have to know how 6 different models of airplane worked and functioned. They, across the board at that company at Southwest, became experts much faster because they just focused highly on one aircraft. I recommend you do this with your drills. Have key drills or one key drill for each part of the game and get really good at that. Now, those drills will inherently have some variation within the drill, of course. For example, a ground ball drill should not just have players throwing across the first base. It should have them throwing to other bases, etc., etc. So there will be nuances within it, but those are subtle little adjustments to the foundation of that one single drill. All right. Scale up by scaling back. Have fewer variations. I'll tell you what, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a youth practice and it's a new drill every other week or a new ground ball drill once a month. I'm telling you, unless you found a drill during the season that is far superior to the one that you have now, it's not worth it. Stick with the one you have. If you learn something from another drill along the way, you can infuse it in, but don't change the whole foundation, the whole schematics of the drill that you currently use. Ideally, you would have your drills dialed in as best as you can before the season starts. You can improve and adjust them throughout. I'm not saying you can't, but I highly recommend that you use one specific drill for each part of the game. I am working on putting together courses. I've shared this out. Hopefully they'll be ready by the end of the year. I don't want to just throw something together that's no good. I want it to be high quality. It will have drills in it. It will have all my best drills in it, shown exactly how to do each one of them. If you're interested in being on the list for that, when it comes out, I'll like the notification list, email me, coachbo@8020baseball.com, coachbo@8020baseball.com, or go over to 8020 Baseball and you can throw it on the contact page. You can just let me know and I'll put you on the list. So when it does, and it is ready, when it does come out, I'll let you know. Those courses will be, I don't want to call them crash courses, but they'll definitely be efficient courses that will definitely elevate coaching levels across the board. So reach out, let me know if you want to be on that list. Also, email me if you have a podcast topic request. I'm doing this to help support the baseball community, to help all of you become better coaches so you can go out there and provide a much better, much more fun, much higher quality environment for all your players. You can go out there with confidence. And when you go out there with confidence as a coach, your players are going to feed off that. They're going to benefit off that. Your assistant, everybody involved is going to have a better time. They're going to get to a place having more success because you're going out there with more confidence, better prepared with stuff you know works. But I want to know from you if there are topics that you want to hear more about, or a topic that you would like me to drill down on more on the podcast. I can't guarantee that it will always fit in, but I've done my best in the past when great listeners have emailed and asked, hey, can you talk about this a little bit, or you can talk about that a little bit, can you dive into that a little more so we can have a better understanding? And so with that said, email me, coachbo8020baseball.com. You can follow me on Twitter, 8020_baseball, at 8020_baseball. Until next Tuesday, take care of yourselves, your health. Take care of that health. I'll tell you what, going out there with energy, motivation, it's not easy being a good coach. First, you got to learn how to do it. You got to go through some trial and error. Then you got to also have that energy and upbeat. You got to have that patience, and you can't be irritable. So you got to take care of your health. You can also be great for your family, the baseball community, so on and so forth. I look forward to being back here next week with you. Until then, adios.
This has been the 80/20 Baseball Masterclass. Take it to the field.